everybody, I'm Patty from the Rockland Public Library, and welcome to our Wednesday story time. Today's story is a great story for people of all ages. It is called The Curious Garden, and it is by the author Peter Brown. Thank you to Peter Brown for allowing us to share your stories online. So before I start this story, I want you to think about, just looking at the cover of this book, what do you think the story will be about? And I just want you to think about the word curious, because the word curious can mean a few things. Curious can mean that you're eager to learn about something, or it can mean unusual. So let's see what curious means in the book, Curious Garden. Let's get ready to read. There once was a city without gardens or trees or greenery of any kind. Most people spent their time indoors. As you can imagine, it was a very dreary place. However, there was one boy who loved being outside. Even on drizzly days while everyone else stayed inside, you could always find Liam happily splashing through his neighborhood. It was on one such morning that Liam made several surprising discoveries. He was wandering around the old railway, as he did from time to time, when he stumbled upon a dark stairwell leading up to the tracks. The railway had stopped working ages ago, and since Liam had always wanted to explore the tracks, and since Liam had always wanted to explore the tracks, there was only one thing for the curious boy to do. Of course, that is to explore. Liam ran up the stairs, pushed open the door, and stepped out onto the railway. The first thing he saw was a lonely patch of color. Wildflowers and plants were the last thing he had expected to find up there. But when he took a closer look, it became clear that the plants were dying. They needed a gardener. Liam may not have been a gardener, but he knew that he could help. So he returned to the railway the very next day and got to work. The flowers nearly drowned, and he had a few pruning problems. But the plants patiently waited while Liam found better ways of gardening. As the weeks rolled by, Liam began to feel like a real gardener, and the plants began to feel like a real garden. Most gardens stay in one place, but this was no ordinary garden. With miles of open railway ahead of it, the garden was growing restless. It wanted to explore. The tough little weeds and mosses were the first to move. They popped up farther and farther down the tracks and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. Over the next few months, Liam and the Curious Garden explored every corner of the railway. And you can see it exploring the railway. Things are changing. And that's a closer look. And another look. After spending his spring and summer and autumn with the garden, Liam's time on the railway was finally interrupted by winter. Heavy blankets of snow fell on the city that season, and for the first time since he'd become a gardener, Liam could not visit the plants. Rather than waste his winter worrying about the garden, Liam spent it preparing for the spring. After 3 cold months, the snow finally began to melt, and Liam rolled his new gardening gear over to the railway. Winter had taken a toll on the garden. But thanks to Liam's planning, his handy new tools, and a little help from the sun, the plants soon awoke from their winter sleep. Check out how beautiful they are. The garden had always wanted to explore the rest of the city, and that spring, it was finally ready to make its move. Once again, the tough little weeds and mosses set out first. They popped up farther and farther from the railway and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. The garden was especially curious about old, forgotten things. You can see it's growing in a truck in this picture, and it's growing up in the cracks of the sidewalk and through the window of a building in this picture. Plants definitely grow wherever they want to grow and wherever they can. A few plants popped up where they didn't belong. And this one is on a stop sign, and this one is on a fire hydrant. Others mysteriously popped up all at once. There may be some guerrilla gardening going on there. But the most surprising things that popped up were the new gardeners. Check out this picture. There's a whole bunch of people gardening. And look how beautiful it is. All these pictures. There's some topiaries, there's a pond, and there's so much green and so many colors in these pictures. Many years later, the entire city had blossomed, but of all the new gardens, Liam's favorite was where it all began. And check out that city. How beautiful is that with all the green? I'm going to take you back to the first page. And then let's go back to the last page. Which one do you prefer? I think I definitely prefer all the green and all of the colors in all of the gardens. And that is the end of the Curious Garden. So, what do you think would have happened to the plants if the boy hadn't taken care of them? Do you think they would have survived? And why was it hard for this boy to take care of the plants? But did he give up when it was difficult? He did not. And what happened when people of the city saw how beautiful the garden was? They worked on helping it grow. And a big question is, can only grown-ups take care of things? What things do you do to help care of or protect? So this book, it's about making a difference. And making a difference. In this book, Liam makes a difference by planting a garden. And I'm wondering if you folks can think about how you can make a difference. Can you plant actual seeds and plant a garden and leave plants for your neighbors? Or can you plant seeds of kindness in the things that you do? How about you perhaps clean up your neighborhood? That's another way to help out and make things stay green. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But to return to the Curious Garden, Peter Brown wrote it about an actual place, and it's in New York City in Manhattan, and it's a place called the High Line. And I'm going to show you some pictures of that. So this was the abandoned railroad tracks of the High Line. You can just see it's brown and not so wonderful. But you can see in this picture that just like with Liam's garden, it had possibility, because even weeds are beautiful. So because people believed in the garden, they decided to make it into a park. And I'm going to show you pictures of what it looks like now as a park. And if you look closely, you can see the railroad track in this picture. And the High Line is about 30 feet above the city streets in New York. And the last picture I'll show you of the High Line is a picture of me and a picture of my friend Peter. And we went for a walk on the High Line last May in New York City. And as you can see by the picture, there are beautiful plants and flowers, and this is a magnolia that's bigger than our heads. So if you ever get a chance to go to New York City, definitely walking on the High Line is a great thing. But back to our own neighborhoods and back to taking care of things. So if you happen to be walking outside in your neighborhood, it would be a great thing to do to take a bag with you and to pick up some trash. Jessie and I are going to, on Friday morning, we are going to walk around the library's neighborhood and pick up some trash, and we're going to show you how much trash we collect. And we would love to see your pictures of what you pick up in your neighborhood if you're happening to go out for a walk to get some air. We've had some beautiful spring days lately. So if you do go out and pick up trash, if you could send us a video or if you could send us a photo, that would be fantastic. Also, speaking of photos, when we publish this, I'm going to send you links to photos of the High Line, and I'm also going to put some links on about some other activities that you can do based on the Curious Garden. So thank you very much for listening. I hope everybody has a great day, and we'll see you soon. We miss you. Bye.